Now, well, sometimes I live in fantasy land, I understand that, but, you know, I think, like I said, this group of people, and the same thing at the golf course, I got 100 members and I've got 60 other people that are, you know, dear friends of the golf course, and to see them at Happy Hour and thank them all the time for coming over. And then the cool part is I'm thanking them for making us be able to do what we do. But the cool part is they're thanking me. Well, thanks because the golf course is great. Thanks for the great food. Thanks for this. I don't have to get in my car and drive up to, you know, Gilbert and the 202 to eat and things like that. So that's hugely rewarding, and I think that's what's lacking here, I think. Yes, dear?
I have a question. Have you made an assessment, or do you have an idea about how much it would cost to bring the course up to standards, which would be replacement of equipment, irrigation system, some of the other things that have not been done in the past few years? Do you have an idea about what that would?
Unfortunately, I don't have a great idea. I have a preliminary idea, but I have no idea how the irrigation system is working. I know that the first thing my superintendent said, he said, we could look like a hero by spending 20 grand real quick. And that's what I talk about, that cleaner look and everything, if that's where it starts. But honestly, I have no idea. If I was a negotiator by the golf course, that's the first thing I'd be doing, is saying, hey, I need to know what's going on with your equipment, what's going on here, and things like that. I know that we spent $300,000 on completely new irrigation and pump station, and that's a bigger course, so that's kind of what's going through our mind, worst case scenario. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's have about 2 more questions, and then we will, because we want to stay on schedule and end Greg's discussion at 3:35.
I just have a statement, really. I've got 28 to 32 guys that go over to Bear Creek every Monday, and there's 2 good reasons. The course is in good shape, and they treat us wonderful. We don't get that here. And I think if we had it, I think those 32 guys were probably members of this course.
Yeah, Stan said he's got 28, 30 guys that go over and play Bear Creek, and they get treated well, and the course is always good. So the first thing I think is, why didn't he call me and he's not coming along? That's the first thing that goes through my mind. Well, I'm going to let that go. I'm not going to hold it against you. But you're absolutely right, and that's, if you don't have that feeling here, why in the world would you say, well, honey, let's go over and have a beer and have some appetizers too?
There's guys over there that know the guys' names. Over here, they don't even know their names.
Yeah, and that blew me away. And there's your sense of community. There's your sense of this is mine, this is ours. I want you to come to my club. I want my buddies to come over. You know, hey, we're only, what's par here? 61? 61.
Right.
We're par 61, but let me tell you, our par greens gets, you know, wouldn't that be a great thing to say? Oh, it was an awesome course, it's so much fun, and it's challenging, and you got to be able to hit shots, you got to be able to do it, the greens are great. Wouldn't that be great to say that all the time?
In how many years would you project the program out to get it in decent shape?
And that's one of the things I wouldn't be a hit and run guy. I'd want a 5-year program. And I'd want to say, hey, in 5 years, what kind of changes are we looking at? What kind of budgets do we have, and what kind of money can we spend? And the reason I say that is when we made our changes with our irrigation, and we said we want a 5-year program, and we are now on year 4. And one of the things I cautioned my superintendent, I said, don't get to 100%, because I said, if you get to 100%, I got to find a new superintendent. I said, get to 75%, we'll start over. But my point is, you want to keep getting better all the time. And I think that would be unbelievably huge for this community to see, wow, this is a bit better, this is a bit better than a couple months. Wow, this is way better. You know, your shock value isn't, nobody's going to come in and make this unbelievable in 6 months. But if you have a proven program, which we have, that you're going to do this, you're going to get the turf quality, you're going to get this, that's what ends up growing the game. That's what ends up making profitability. And I think that sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle, and the next person that buys the golf course, if it's all about making money, all he's gonna be saying is, well, I'm smarter than this guy, he's not doing it right, I can do it right, and then he finds out that, geez, maybe it's not as easy as I thought. Because he's got that pressure, you gotta make money, you got that ROI, you got this investor on your back, so.
Greg, could you talk to us a little bit about the grill? I know you mentioned one time
Sure.
we're not going to make a deep sea steakhouse out of this. So why don't you explain a little bit your vision for the grill?
Yeah, the grill at Lone Tree, we are not open for dinner. But if our members want dinner, we do some special dinner nights and some different things, and when I got there, I didn't want anything to do with running a restaurant. I had my hands full with the golf course. So I leased it out. I quickly found out that when you lease something out, you have to deal with the headaches. So if I'm gonna deal with the headaches, I wanna deal with the profits. So we ended up taking it back, it's now ours, we do all of it ourselves. We've simplified, we've made it smart, just simple stuff. You're a golf course, you're not DC Steakhouse, you're not Applebee's. I don't think you should offer a Caesar salad or a Cobb salad over at the golf course. Now maybe you can for a month out of the year if that's your special, but when you try to do stuff like that, it's when you start dealing with spoilage. And I say support the golf course, and what I mean by that is, yes, I want you to eat there 4 or 5 times a week, but it's not gonna happen. People come once a week, people come and eat lunch a couple times. Simple, good, quality lunch. That's where it starts. Appetizers, beer specials. It's a golf course. We want to watch a football game, we want to watch Matt Kuchar lose in the playoff today, which is unbelievable to me. At the end of a round, rarely do you get somebody who says, we're going to play 18 holes and then we're going to go on the golf course and have a steak. And that is whether you're at Pebble Beach or here. You go to Pebble Beach and you eat in the pub and you get a burger. That's what it is. It's totally different than, So I think that's what I look for, is simplifying and making it so it's kind of, you're watering them. Oh, let's go over there, see what's going on, and have a water or a beer or whatever, and say hi to the guys. That to me, because again, it's yours, it's in your community.
Do you do breakfast?
Yes, we do breakfast, and I think that, again, we simplified our breakfast. I had a guy there that would come in, and I'd go in the morning and I'd see this pile of bacon, and I'd go, we got 40 people coming in today? And he said, I hope so. And I said, you better do a better job then. You can't be hoping that people are going to come in. You got to make it so that they're coming in, and I think that's one of the things we've learned, and we've done a ton of special events. We got 2 events today there. We had a breakfast buffet because 20 people were leaving, and they said, can we invite our friends? Boom, breakfast. So now it's open to everybody because we knew we had 20 people. And then we have a birthday party there going on right now for another guy. Sliders, hamburger sliders, nachos, simple stuff. And they're going to throw down beers. That's why they're there. They're there for a birthday party. Like you said, if you want to go to his birthday steak, go to a DC Steakhouse. However, on Valentine's, we do our steak and we do our salmon. And the reason we do that is because we don't want our guys to have to drive, especially if they're going to have a few cocktails. And it's one of our most successful. And our guys can make anything. But I always caution, even though that was very successful, don't think that you're going to do that 3 times a week. That's once a month.
Mm-hmm. Let's hear it for Greg. Okay, we're going to shift right into another mode right now, and we'll turn it over to our committee chairman, Bill Engel.
Well, we'll lower this just a bit. Or get Greg shorter. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Bill Engel, and about a month ago, a group just like this, in fact, probably most of you, asked me to form a committee to look into the golf course, to understand where it is, what the status of it is, and what it takes to bring it back to a condition that we're satisfied with. And we've done that. We've met 4 or 5 times.
It's
that
still
working?
getting kind of a feedback.
Yep.
It's working.
Earlier, still.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, so we've met 4 or 5 times, and we've accomplished a couple things. We got a lot of things on our plate, and I'd like to answer questions as it relates to those things. So let me first of all give you just a little list of what's going on. One of the gals over here asked a question on the equipment. Did we really understand what was going on with it and how much it's going to cost to replace it? And Greg kind of answered that question as no, he really didn't, because we haven't looked at it. But we have our oar in the water. We're very close to contracting for a professional reserve study, which basically does that. And not only does it look at all the equipment, but it looks at all the facilities and the roads and the parking lot and the pathways and everything else, and what it takes to clean that up, what it takes to do that on a regular basis and on an aperiodic basis out into the future. And we're going to use the same company that Ken uses when he does his reserve study for the rest of the homeowners association. So it'll be a fully integrated kind of thing. We'll do the golf course separately, and of course share that with Ken, so his guys know what the situation is over there. And that will answer that question, and I suspect that's pretty much the same thing you do, isn't it, Greg? To get access to that equipment and understand everything that's going on, not just the equipment, because that is only part of it, and that'll get the irrigation in there too. There's another whole task that Greg talked about, which is the renovation, and that requires some kind of a master plan, and he talked about some of the aspects and features of that plan, and we're working on that too. So that's at least a couple of things. We're also, let me make sure that we don't miss any of these, so you can ask your questions. So we've got the reserve study. We're got our oar in the water for an appraisal. We're bringing in a homeowner association lawyer to help us address a number of legal concerns. We have a lot of financial work, as you might imagine, should convince ourselves and then all of you that this thing makes sense from a financial point of view. Again, Greg talked about some of that kind of work. You might find that Greg is pretty integrated into this, the way he answers the questions. And let me tell you that finding Greg and getting Greg hooked into this thing is really a godsend. There's just no way we would be where we are if we didn't have Greg and didn't have that commingling, if you will, of the 2 golf courses, and the benefits that go with that are just of astronomical importance in making this whole thing come together and bring what was a signature course for Pulte here when it was built in '96, and a signature course down the road at Solera when it was built in 2000, and bring it back together. We get this course brought up to speed, and we got 2 signature courses under the same general manager, where he can do his marketing in a way that it benefits both courses. He commingles his equipment, his people, his personnel, his technical capabilities. And it's a very unique situation that we have and can do because we found Greg. And Greg was, of course, one of the key things that we accomplished. Now, the last thing that we got our oar really in the water on and having some difficulty with is the funding for the golf course, and trying to understand the customer, trying to understand the current owner and where he is and what the price will be. And we think we understand most of that, at least I do. And I've been on both this committee and the previous committee, and on both committees I was the interface with the current owner. So I do have a kind of an appreciation for them, and I think I understand where they are and where they're going. We may appear to move pretty fast, or we may appear to change some things rather quickly, And there's some frustration in the committee because of that. And, you know, you miss a meeting, it's gonna be a problem. You miss a meeting on Arnie's patio, it may be a problem. Things happen very, very rapidly. And some are in our control and some are not in our control. And one that's not in our control is a new one that just came to us about 4 or 5 days ago. The owners have received another offer for the golf course, okay? And it's another for-profit operation, which will do the same thing to the golf course, at least in the eyes of the managing director of the LLC that owns the golf course. His name is Keith. At least the Keith size, it's going to be the same thing as the current operation. They'll pull the money, any money they make, they'll pull out. They pull it out in form of depreciation of their equipment. Instead of putting money in reserve, they pull it out as an expense in depreciation. And the money disappears. It goes into a racehorse down the street or some such thing, not into our golf course. And it's great, and you know, so aptly described. You know, when you get that money in a nonprofit homeowners type organization, that money stays right here. It goes right back. Every dollar that comes through that door in green fees ends up, after expenses, going right back into the golf course to make it a better place. And that's what really drives the finances, and it's a critical issue. I was talking about the funding plan. We think we probably, to do this thing right, I'll just give you a number, we think we need $1 million. Okay, and we think somewhere less than half of that will go into some kind of a purchase agreement of some sort, and the rest of it will go into a reserve fund. And that reserve fund will be managed in accordance with the reserve study that we go contract for and get, and will be doled out as required to meet the needs of the golf course and as required to meet the renovation plan. And we're working with Greg on numbers in that particular area, which is why he doesn't give you an answer. But it's all being driven by the funding requirement, which is, you know, as I indicated, going to be roughly $1 million. Now it could be up or down from that a little bit. And we've been through a number of ways, probably a half a dozen different ways of coming up with that money, if you will, to make this thing go, kick it off. And nothing seems to stick. It's too hard. It gets the homeowners frustrated. You know, we got 3 groups of homeowners, basically, the way I look at it. One group of homeowners doesn't want anything to do with the golf course and does not want to spend a nickel on the golf course. And I see Ken shake his hand back there. Oh yeah, we know that. And that's a very large percentage of the people in Springfield. There's another group that just wants to play golf and wants the green fees to kind of hang in there pretty loose, and they're going to play maybe a couple of times a week and play in couples and a couple other things and call it a week. And they don't really, well, they're kind of like the golf course is pretty good shape the way it is. We don't need to worry about it. It's not. It needs a hell of a lot of work. Then there's the rest of them. And the rest of them are avid golfers, and they're very interested in making this thing right. And most of them are sitting right here in this room. And they want that golf course fixed. And they're willing to put money into it to make that happen. Now, how do we satisfy all of those groups? And that's been the dilemma in this funding issue. The last thing in the world we want is to have a big old fight like they had over in Ironwood, Cottonwood. And they're still having special assessments coming down the pipe because they didn't do an adequate job of capital funding at the beginning of the program. We're not going to fall into those traps. We're going to listen very, very carefully. We're going to do an adequate job of funding, but we still have to get a vote through to get all that accomplished. If you want the homeowners organization, the Springfield HOA to own that, and that's a very, very difficult thing to do. Is it going to be easy, Ken? And see, his head's going back and forth like this. No, 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 it's not going to be easy. In fact, I don't think it can be done, quite frankly. So we got to look at different avenues, and we have been doing that. And one kind of came to us out of the dark. Actually, we talked about it several times, but it came to us a little bit more clearly on one of the patios here 4 or 5 nights ago. And Dean Guest is out there someplace, and yeah, there's Kerry. Would you two guys come up? A couple of our neighbors from Canada, Dean and Kerry, come on up. And I'd like to have your two neighbors, Kerry Strong and Dean Guest, give you just a little description as the dynamic duo of what they ran into out in Canada many years ago and what they did to fix that. And then we'll kind of open this thing up to questions and answers and send everybody off with a picnic.
I do live on the south side of that line. Phil's talking about. Dean lives on the north side. Dean Guest, Kerry Strong. Back in the 70s, I have a cottage up in Canada called Kenosi Lake. And back in the 70s, I was up there snowmobiling with some friends, and I went with some Canadians to the pub. We started talking about the deteriorated golf course at Kenosi Lake. We got together, 100 people. We incorporated 100 people through $10,000 in. With that, we said, well, I got to have something out of this. I was a Yankee, so what am I going to get? They said, well, you get a free golf membership, get preferred tee times, range balls. There was a lot of perks, so I said, boy, I'm in. So I was the only Yankee that got in on it. It's worked unbelievably great. Well, Dean can tell you how it's expanded, but through the years, we took the course from a C grade course to an A+. This course in Canada is premier, and Dean can hit on that. And I got a picture. I'm just going to walk back and down. Our #1 tee-off box at Kenosi Lake, and where it's called Golf Kenosi Incorporated, and it works unbelievable. And he can tell you what the value of the shares have did, and the list of people that want to buy them.
Yeah, thank you. I think firstly, thank you for the committee for asking us to speak with them or whatever. I think they've done a great job, and Greg Avant excites me something immensely on this, and hopefully it works. Yeah, Kerry did talk about the benefits, and some of those were retracted from the whole thing as it went along because of financial wrongs. It's now down to free membership for the year is what we get. And our membership is up from 100. I think it's about 130, excuse me, and that was done because of the lack of funding throughout the tough times. Now we're back on track. We're redoing the clubhouse, making it into a banquet. We're holding the Canadian Amateur Golf Tournament that they could hold any place in Canada, and they've chosen Kenosi Lake. There's 2 other major tournaments. It's